Welcome to Blended Learning. I'm going to try and record this in one take, barring any dog or leaf blower noises. So we'll see what happens. So this week we were asked to think about providing opportunities for informal learning, exploration, and play in our classrooms. I believe that all three of those are essential in any classroom, not even just a blended classroom. So how am I going to include those things? My math class is set up in stations. So one of the stations is a cooperative workstation. Learning from peers tends to be a lot more informal, and they'll take risks with their peers that they won't necessarily take in front of a teacher. I've also included a may-do station, which will include manipulatives, hands-on games, online programs. I've labeled it as being intended for fast finishers, but all students are going to have an opportunity to access this work. Even if I need to reduce the workload for some students in order for them to be able to access this, I think it's important enough that nobody misses it. So we were asked to think about how we were going to set this up in our classrooms. To the left is my classroom design. I have tables and students will sit 2 to 3 to a side. They'll work in small groups of 5 to 6. For a math class, I use each table as a station. This allows students to move tables every 15-20 minutes, providing that motor break that they desperately need. Grouping will be flexible, established by student need, and we have a 1-to-1 Chromebook ratio, so they'll grab their Chromebooks and move through the stations with them depending on what they need for that day. The first station is the computer station, which would be the yellow table. The second station with me usually occurs in the middle at that green table, which helps with classroom management because nobody's more than a table away from me. I also allow flexible seating, which means students at stations 3 and 4 may be working at that table, or they may be at the counters in our classroom, or they may be working on the floor. The infographic to the right, which I think my picture covers a little bit, will show you the basic structure of my idea. I used Canva to create it and found it easy to use. This was a new to me program and it was really pretty simple to use. So station 1 is the computer station. Students will be using pre-made videos, whether they come from me, Khan Academy, or them. I'll push the videos through Google Classroom, but I also have a web page. I intend to house videos there as well, so students can always revisit ideas as needed. I frequently use student helpers in math, and I rotate that through to make sure everybody gets a turn. They could do this by creating videos just like I do, which would be a great reteach. Station 2 is small group work where they work with me. We work on whiteboards, whiteboard paddles, on chalkboards, on the floor. I try to mix it up enough to keep it interesting, and I frequently start sessions with, tell me what you need to be successful with this standard. This allows me to target instruction a little bit more rather than reteaching the whole standard. Students get used to that question, so they start to become more willing to risk an answer because it really is opening up what they don't know. Let's see. Station 3 is their cooperative workstation where they'll work with other group members. Our math program has a multitude of word problems at the end of each chapter, and students really struggle with these. Small group would help here. In one of the videos I watched this week, Jen Johnson discussed crowdsourcing vocabulary online. She had student pairs find definitions online and then post them to a group workspace, and then they were able to narrow down the best definitions. The same could be done with their math work, where they'd post their answer and defend it. This could also be done in a video format. At Station 4, students will be exploring math work in an informal setting. That's my may-do station. They could possibly be using tangrams once they finished doing some preset figures, they could make their own. Last year, we created polygon families. They turned different polygons into members of a family, and then we added a language arts connection by trying to use alliteration to name all the figures. It was really adorable, and they had a good time. They also remembered their shape. We posted those on their lockers in the hallway. Some of the research this week gave me a feeling of satisfaction. I was already doing a number of things that fall into the blended learning category, at least in my math class. It's just going to take a few tweaks to get me where I'd like to be as a starting point. I was already working in a personalized format in my math class, we did the station rotations. We spend time working on setting goals and understanding why we're doing what we're doing. We use a math learning progression to mark their progress, and students are in different places on that path. It's in their learning binder, so not everybody needs to know exactly who's passed what standard. The article by Patrick Kennedy and Powell describes how we start each standard. I assess what they know, then they plan a path to get where they need to be. The majority of the students in my math class can explain what they're doing and how it fits into their overall plan. Another piece of the research this week that really struck me was the Edutopia article. It helped me realize that taking 1 or 2 steps each year is perfectly fine. We're a work in progress, and it doesn't have to be incorporated all at once. I can learn some of this progress with the students as we go. I feel like this took a lot of pressure off me to push too much at once. I worry sometimes when you get into something and you go overboard, you don't follow through or it doesn't work out as well. So taking little steps at a time, like incorporating the videos, I think would be just a great step for this year. References, if you'd like to go back and access any of those things I mentioned. So I had a lot of thoughts and highlights as I was reading this week, and I just wanted to include a little bit extra about some of the things I thought about. I loved Kuros's talking about math class staff meetings this week and how they should be more than policy discussions. Those staff meetings can be a chore, and I sometimes feel like a waste of time. I believe so much of that information could just be sent out in an email, and we could put our time to better use by maybe talking about students. PD. I especially loved the graphic about 8 things to look for in today's classroom. When Kuros related it to PD, it really surprised me. It never occurred to me that PD should be held to the same standard that I use in my classroom. We don't generally have a ton of voice and choice in PD, and the idea of having it work as well as our teaching really kind of blew my mind. I sent a screenshot to our K-5 instructional coach, who loved it as well. The last 2 bullet points, educational whack-a-mole and working on weaknesses, resonated with me so strongly. Our STEM program is very successful. Our students report to parents that it's engaging, we score well on standardized tests, and it allows students to be successful who might not be traditionally successful. Unfortunately, there is a conversation in my district right now about cutting some of that time because we aren't scoring as well in reading and math. And we are working on finding solutions for reading and math, but why devote an hour to STEM when we're already good at it, is the current thinking, and it's not mine. We are also told that we aren't performing well enough, and it is seriously affecting morale. To hear, well, this school's doing well, how come you're not there, when we're working as hard as we're working, can be just demoralizing. Maybe next time admin suggests we all read something for PD, we should ask that if we do that, admin read this book. So that's my one take video this week, and I'm really excited I got it done in one take. I'm not even going to go back and re-listen to it to find all the mistakes. I'm just going to post it. Thank you for listening, and I'd love to hear your feedback.